Feeling behind in life is one of the most paralyzing things that you can experience, not because it's true, but what it makes you stop doing. Being behind in this game called life doesn't exist. It's a social construct that's born out of comparison and social pressure. Constantly living with that pressure is no real way to live life to your fullest. Psychology research shows that when people feel like their future is limited, whether because of age comparisons, life setbacks, or beliefs, their motivation shifts from long term goals into short term comfort. So, if you're someone who's really ambitious but you feel like everyone's ahead of you in life, or that it's too late to pursue your dream, this is the episode for you. In this episode, I'm going to break down why you feel behind, what that belief leads to, and 5 things that you can practically add to your life to help you go from feeling behind in your life to everything that you want is right in front of you. Let's get into it.
Take it from me someday.
I truly believe that a well-crafted story has a chance to impact athletes and brands and people all over the country to unite them. All right, guys, welcome back to the Unseen Podcast. I'm your host, Roman Isaiah Brown. I'm currently on a journey to build my dream life. I just moved to New York about 4.5 months ago from Texas to work at one of the largest NFL agencies in the country. I'm just on a daily pursuit to become the best version of myself, to reach my dreams, and ultimately to push past the status quo and reach greatness. I started this podcast to be able to share the things that I'm going through along my journey to greatness, because there's pitfalls, there's highs, there's lows, there's things that I'm learning every single day that I think that can help so many people. So, I'm not coming from, I'm just an expert in everything, but I'm coming from, I'm living, I'm learning, and I'm just sharing with you and documenting with you what I'm learning in real time. And so if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really am trying to build a great community here, not one that is just built off likes and how many subscribers we have, but I really want us to be an engaged community. So if there's anything in this episode, anything that interests you, anything that you find that encourage you, or anything that you maybe even disagree with or question, please leave it in the comments. Let's start to actually build a community and learn from each other. I think that's what all of this is about, and that's my goal with this channel, and I want to be able to bring that to you guys. Right now it's just solo episodes, but I plan to eventually have athletes, creators, visionaries, entrepreneurs, people at the top of their field, and interviewing them and understanding the things that they've learned along their journey, things that they have experienced, things they're experiencing now, to be able to give back to you guys and myself, to be able to figure out can we also implement these things in our lives so we can actually become the best version of ourselves as well. Now let's get into the topic. Feeling behind in life is really one of the worst feelings. There's a study that about like 75% of people feel behind in life, which is a crazy number. That means 3 out of every 4 people feel behind in life. What's actually funny about it is that there's people in that 75% who feel behind, but yeah, I know that there's other people that's also in that 75% that's looking at that person that feels behind, but they're thinking, wow, they're so far ahead of me. You can feel behind, but yet other people can look at you and feel like you're so far ahead of them. I say all of that to say a lot of people feel behind. This is something that really feels personal to me, because I've always been a late bloomer. I've always been somebody that's been behind. A lot of my peers were ahead of me athletically, but I remember that I felt like I was just behind where I wanted to be, behind my standard, behind the people that I looked up to, the people that were around me that seemed to be stronger, faster than me, or whatever the case might be. And I felt like I didn't really come to my own until like later, and I started to catch up with people who were like ahead of me in these things, to like maybe my senior year of high school, my freshman year of college, which is like crazy. That was really frustrating for me. And then even that being said, I didn't play varsity football until my senior year of high school. I didn't really become a starter in college until my senior year. On top of that, even mentally, I feel like my frontal lobe probably still isn't developed. Other people just seem like maybe to mature faster than me or whatever the case might be. Like, I feel like I've always been behind in a lot of areas. And so I know how hard it is to feel like, man, the thing that you want the most, everybody is steps ahead in front of you, is already doing those things. And that could be a really frustrating place to be. I think as humans, collectively, we think that you have to reach a certain milestone by a certain time for you to be successful in life. And if you haven't, then, you're doomed or you're behind or you're like never going to get there. You need to reevaluate your life. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that it needs to be that way. I think you can be successful in this life in many different ways, and sometimes it might take longer, and I think that's okay. I think you can still be really successful. I think you can still reach your dreams. I think you can accomplish the things you want to accomplish in this lifetime, regardless of how long it takes. There's actually many stories of amazing people who have reached the pinnacle of their career, of their life accomplishments later in life. Athletes, creatives, entrepreneurs. There's a lot of people with that story. And some that come to mind for me is like Two Chainz. Two Chainz. Okay, that was bad. No, shout out Two Chainz. I love Two Chainz. But literally, a lot of people don't know this, but he didn't really become Two Chainz the way we know him until like in his mid to late 30s, which for a rapper is late by many standards. Most of them have already hit their peak by like early 20s. So he was 10, 15 years behind industry standards. Steve Young, Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best, greatest quarterbacks of all time, didn't become a starter for the 49ers until he was 30. He was considered a bust before that. Samuel L. Jackson literally didn't get his breakout role until he was 46. Think about that. He didn't literally break out until he was 46. There's so many more stories like this. I hope that inspires you to know that you can continue to chase your dream even though the timing may not be what you expected. And, people act like if you don't get it by this time, then you need to just fall in line with what everybody else is doing. Fall in line with the status quo, get the safe job, find this secure thing for you to feel safe. And I understand it, but I don't want to subscribe to that. I don't want to subscribe to giving up because I didn't get it at the time that you thought I should have it. These stories inspire me, and I hope it does to you as well. I'm super excited about this topic, and I'm ready to break it down and figure out a way that we can actually not let the timing of things keep us from actually reaching our fullest potential and our dreams in this lifetime. So let's talk about, why do we actually feel behind in life? I think there's three main reasons why we as humans feel behind in life. And number one, to me, is probably the biggest: societal pressure. Whether it's societal pressure to feel set in your career by this age, or to be married and have kids and have a house by this age, or be at the top of your field by this age. Let's just say like you're a music artist and you're 30 and you haven't had your break yet, and people are like, okay, like it's time that you find a real job, whatever that means. If you don't do it by a certain time, people are ready to pull the plug on your dream, to pull a plug on what you're doing, what you want to accomplish. We let that societal pressure from other people dictate how we should feel. And I think we start to say, you know what, we feel that pressure and start to live under that pressure. Like, I got to get it by this time. I got to do it by this date. And if not, then it's all over for me. That keeps us from being our best, just living under that pressure. You can't create that way. You can't work that way. It's hard to be your best when you have that type of level of thinking. And that sucks. And I don't want that for anyone. The next one kind of goes hand in hand with societal pressure, but comparison. We compare ourselves a lot of times to what the other people around us have done and when they did it and how they did it, and we expect our journey to look like theirs. When it doesn't line up to their journey, we assume that it's because, maybe we're not meant for this, or we're somehow worse than this person, or we're not as good as that person because it all worked out for them by this date and time. And I just think that's a hard way to look at life. The timing on how things work is just different for everybody. And a lot of times it doesn't mean that you are worse or behind. Sometimes it can mean that maybe they were further along skill wise, whatever the case might be. Most of the times it's just kind of how the cards played out for someone. That's a huge thing, right? Comparison. This one is huge too. And I think it's sometimes born out of the other two, but our own expectations. We're our biggest critic a lot of times, at least I am. We have internal milestones that we kind of placed on ourselves. I get why we do that. Everyone wants to have a certain thing by a certain time, but it puts unnecessary pressure on us to have this thing by this time. That's just not a great mindset. I think we got to hold those things more loosely. So let's talk about what happens when you believe that you're behind in life. There's two main things that I've noticed, or at least that's happened for me in my life, that I see also happen for a lot of other people as well. Number one, you put off your ideas and you start to downsize your dreams. Once you realize that you're late to accomplishing your dream or goal, you a lot of times start to play it safe. I've seen this in my life. It's kind of like you start to think, oh, I should think realistic, which I hate. I actually hate the thought of people telling people to think realistic, because nothing ever gets done from thinking realistic. The biggest things in life come from people who don't think inside the box, people who think about the impossible becoming possible. That's the reason that I can even get on this camera and record this podcast, because somebody thought about the idea of recording. Someone had to think about lights and creating the electricity and all these different things, and things I'm sure people are like, you're crazy to think about at the time, but they had to do it. And so I hate the thought of being realistic. You start to try to think realistic, and that seems realistic, and this time frame seems realistic, and what I was thinking before seemed unrealistic. And so now let me kind of bring down my standards. And I think that tends to happen when you believe you're behind, because you downsize your expectations. I don't think that's a good thing. The second thing, you choose comfort over growth. And I've been there. I've been there where, you feel like this isn't going to happen for me. You feel behind, and you just start to silently kind of, I want to say fully give up, but you just get complacent in certain ways. If you don't want to have that happen to you, I think you have to believe that, everything's in front of you. Everything you want in your life is in front of you and you can achieve, and it doesn't matter how long it's going to take. Here's 5 mindset shifts that pull you out of the I'm behind mindset. Number 1, focus on building momentum. I feel like when I'm actually putting in the work on something and I'm taking steps forward, I'm making progress towards my goals, I feel less stuck. I feel less behind, because I am just focusing on putting one step in front of the other. I feel like I'm getting closer towards my goal because I know that I'm going to get there eventually. Just focus on what's right in front of you and accomplishing that step, and then going on to the next. When you're so focused on day to day, you kind of forget about these large, big, major milestones that you want in your life by this time. And that's just kind of how I look at it. Number 2, focus on the destination versus how fast you are getting there. What if you were guaranteed to reach your goal? What if you knew beforehand, like, you're going to reach your dream, you're going to do all the things that you wanted to do, you just didn't know how long it was going to take. But if you continued on your path, continued along your process, you were going to get there. I think a lot of us would take that and we would just continue doing the work. And so that's what I look at, is like, envision your life getting the thing that you want and forget about the timing of it, and just think about, like, if I got this at some point, how would that change my life? And How would that change the lives of the people around me? When you focus on getting the destination versus how fast you get there, all you're focusing on is getting there. I want to relaunch Vail Athletics, and I believe that I will, and I believe that it will be very successful. But I know that there's a lot of things I need to do to get to that point. I honestly could care less how long it takes to get there, to get to that point where it relaunches. I just want to get there. And sometimes that's all you need. It's just believing that I'm going to get there and I don't care how long it's going to take me because the destination is that important to me. I know when I get there what that all means for me in my life and the people around me and the people I'm able to impact and all those things. Only thing worse than getting there late is not getting there at all. And I hope that mindset shift helps you. Another thing under this is also we don't control the timing of when things happen for us. We don't control that. We can do everything we can to help us put ourselves in position to become successful, to reach our dreams, to reach our goals at a particular milestone. Whether it happens or not is out of our control. And that's hard to accept sometimes, but it's the truth. A lot of breaks for people in life happen due to the preparation at the right time. But a lot of times, we can control the preparation part. What we can't control is the timing of it all. Focus more on being prepared for your moment, whatever that means for you. Prepare yourself so you can be aligned at the right time. Number 3, release yourself from societal pressure. You have to live with your life. They don't. The people that are pressuring you to have it all figured out by this date and this time, or have all these milestones done by a particular time because they were pressured to do that and so they did it, and now they're putting the pressure on you. Just know, if you fall into that pressure, you have to live that life. So if you get married just because society told you to before you were ready, or before you found the one, or you just settled, then you have to live that life. If you decide to quit your dream and go get a status quo job just to make ends meet, which is okay, but like you never decide to live your passion or dream and find a way to pursue that because you just did what everyone else told you to do and get a real job or grow up or whatever that is, then that's on you. Then you have to live that life. I would rather die knowing that I lived my life. I chose to live life on my standards, on my watch. We only have one life. Number 4, separate your self worth from timing. Timing says how fast you get something or get somewhere, says nothing about who you are as a person, says nothing about your self worth. It doesn't mean that the other person that got to this milestone is better than you. And if you got there faster than them, doesn't mean that you're better than them. It literally says nothing about your character, says nothing about your skill set, says none of it. So stop attaching your self worth to how fast you accomplish something. It's actually the most annoying thing. It's one, like, I hate those YouTube, and I'm probably gonna do it one day. I'm probably gonna do it, and y'all gonna be like, "Look, Rome, you did it." Call me out on it too if you see it. But like, I hate the freaking YouTube thumbnails. Like, I get it, I get why it works, but I hate it. Make $10 million in 2 days, and it's like, bro, like, you're selling speed, and it's great if you can do that, but like, I just don't think that that's the right way to approach things. And that kind of leads me to my last point, which is being late can be a good thing. It builds a certain character in you. You appreciate the destination more, you learn more along the journey, you're more ready by the time you get to the opportunity. When I was a freshman going into University of Houston, I wanted to be a starter day one, and I didn't end up starting until my senior year. How crazy is that? I look back on it, and there's some parts of me that's like, it built a different type of character in me. I was so ready for the moment too, and I learned so much just having to be patient and work, and just things not going to my plan. Sometimes it can be a good thing. A lot of times the most talented, most skilled people are the ones who got it like late. They reached their pinnacle later than other people, and it's not because they wasn't good enough earlier. It's just like how the cookie crumbled for them. But through that whole process, it built a story. It grew character in them that they wouldn't been able to get otherwise. And so I hope that helps you kind of reframe the thought of you being behind in life. Okay, so I just want to summarize this whole episode by saying, let's flip the switch on being behind. Let's actually make it positive. You're going a different route. You're telling a different story. And know that you're not alone. There's so many people out there that feel behind in life. But at the end of the day, it's not about whether you are behind or you're not. It's about how you respond to the feeling of being behind in life. And you can allow it to dictate how you approach your life, or you don't and you allow yourself to continue to pursue your dreams with passion and focus and discipline. I hope this whole message inspires you guys out there. I'm someone that truly, I do feel behind sometimes in many different areas in my life, and I've been feeling like that for a lot of different reasons. But me just having this message has been therapeutic for me, which is really why I do a lot of my episodes, because topics that I do is probably most of the time is because one is what's speaking to me now, is what I'm realizing in true time, and a lot of times is what I need to inspire me. And so I hope this message inspire you as well. As always, if you found this episode encouraging to you, please like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Take it from me someday.